Hi everyone and welcome back to my studio. Today I'm going to paint garden roses again. Last time I think I had some technical issues with storage on my phone, so hopefully it will not happen again, so that's why I'm giving it a second attempt. And for me it's good to have another go at this painting. So I set up this bouquet from my garden, freshly picked garden roses, and I'm going to show also my palette. So I have titanium white, and then next to it is an interesting green gold, it's called, color. So when it's mixed with some greens or yellows, it gives nice warm tints, and with white it gives a nice color, so I'll try to use that one. Then I have yellow, cadmium yellow light, cadmium yellow deep, yellow ochre, cadmium orange, cadmium red light, terra rosa, alizarin crimson. There is one red here that I'm not going probably to use, it just from my other palette, and ultramarine blue, another green that I probably will not use, I might. It's again, it's a chrome, I think it's called chromium green or something. And then there is viridian and transparent red oxide, and I pre-mixed a lot of viridian and transparent red oxide, so I'm going to show it close. And then I just added terra rosa to that mixture and cadmium yellow deep, so it created some of the warm different mixtures that I may need. And then I also added some light yellow mixture, and then I did some premix for background. So I hope those premixed colors will help me a little in the process of my painting. So I'm going to set up to make sure everything is synced quite well, and I'll get into the painting. As you can see, I did just a very schematic drawing, or more like contour or silhouette of this setup. I didn't pre-tone my canvas. I just decided to go straight on the white because I don't need really pre-tone it. It's a very good quality oil primed canvas roll that I get in rolls. As you can see, I stick these little tapes on side, and then you can always glue that roll as with some things like Raphael Miracle Mark or ES paste, or depending what is available in your country, and you can use it. So, or you can even wipe it off later if you don't like it, or as long as the paint is wet, and then you just finish with pre-toned canvas and you can paint over it again. I think that's what I did with my previous painting. So anyway, I will start going into the painting, and I'll try to explain what I'm doing, but in the first like few minutes, or maybe first 5, 10 or 15 minutes, the most important ones, when you see your colors the freshest and your brain is still very clear of all the clutter. So I may just sometimes be silent when I go into it, because it means I will be squinting and comparing the colors and tones to get it right. So I'll start from my darkest greens. So I will be painting thinly, and I'm using Gamsol equivalent you can use for the, so I'm squinting and painting greens. So these are the leaves I see. As you can see, with lots of medium, it's a very good kind of scumbling. Some of it I will do later, maybe different value, but for now I'm seeing how I see it, painting how I see it. Some roses will be going this time off the canvas, which is also fine. And then I'll do some greens here. That's when I'm using some lighter greens in the vase, but not too light. And now I will be going into my roses. I could have gone into background, but I think roses are more important, so I'd rather do them first and then compare how background looks. So I'm going into this one first, and as I go I see sometimes when I need more white or more yellow, maybe just to get it a little bit more close to the natural, to the value I see. So the middles of these roses are very warm, so this one is the same, but I can see in this one actually more cooler undertone on this side. So I'm even adding a little bit of ultramarine and alizarin, just a little bit. It's good to have variety of colors. So this rose has pink and it has yellow as well, lots of yellow. I'm trying to go into that color, to find that color. Kind of creamy yellow, creamy pink. But the middle is still very dark. Even though I don't see it, I know that it is very dark. So I'm trying not to lose that. The same as in this rose. And I have rose at the back. It has lots of green in it and white. So I think I'll use this color. Actually has some coolness. So I'm going to use Viridian and white. And whatever was left on my brush. It's kind of grey cool. The same here. It has lots of cool colors in there. And where it's closer to background, actually I'm going to take some background color to that area. Gray. And in the middle it has more yellow. So I'm going to use this warm yellow brown Terra Rosa mixture I made. And I can always add white when I need to. So now just go with the little bit lighter color around the roses that I already put in. So there's some pink there. These are two pinkest roses, and I see them the clearest in front of me as well, so I think they will be my focal point. this one goes a little bit cooler, even with some blue purple. So I'm using again ultramarine and alizarin just to see how it will work on this rose. I think it works fine. And then I'm using again Viridian and white. My light is cool. Have a cloudy sky, so the lights will be on a cooler side and the shades will be on a warmer side. But again, like I see lots of warmth overall in these roses, so we'll see how it goes. I'm going to use some of my background color just to go here in between these roses. I think there is just a tiny bit of back seen there. I still have 2 more roses at the back that will be more potentially muted because they're at the very background. But I still need to do at least some of it. That one is a little bit more shadow on this side, and that one also a little bit more shadow on this side and a little bit more light on that side. So I have little buds and roses also popping out in some areas. So I have these one. It has some pink at the back. I have this one that also in the shadow here. But light falls here. Trying to look where else I have little bud. I've seen it somewhere. So I'm trying to clean my brush, of course, because I've picked lots of white on it at this point. This bud is very kind of dark and it has a little bit of red in it. It overlaps with the leaf as well. So the tip, it has some red. Some green at the back of this rose that may not be very clearly seen. And there is one leaf overlapping here. I'm going to do a little bit darker here for this rose, as I can see still dark, and some cooler notes, grayish, kind of grayish notes, and this rose and this rose. And then I'm putting this the same color with some brown into this glass that I have for the roses. A little light on this side, but probably not as light as this rose, so I have to mute it back again. You can see lots of gray, blue, especially there in the middle. And then I see lighter. So I think gloss can be left, because I always trying to fix it first and then I spend too much time on it. So I think it's more important to try to get all the shadows as well. So I'm going to mix transparent red oxide and ultramarine blue. So that's the cast shadow from my vase. I'm going a little bit darker maybe than I should, but there is some light area that I should leave it for. And now also going on my background, otherwise I'll leave it and it will be different in comparison with the roses, and I may have to fix something. So I'm going to start going, I'm using for my background raw umber and white, and actually some leftover grays. They're all kind of various grays. So I'm looking where is my darkest in the background. I'm comparing to the glass, so I can see that in some areas it's slightly, just a little bit lighter than the glass itself. So I actually probably made it too thick, but I just want to start it going, and then I'll try to thin it a little. Yeah. So I just took a little bit of solvent to make it slightly thinner. So I have to look here carefully, because there are some leaves there, and it's also a lighter area. So I'm using some yellow ochre and white in that area. Trying to work around the contour of the roses. I'm sorry if it's shaking, because I'm just at this point touching this little box where I have my so I'll try to be careful not to wobble it too much, and I'll work in this area. I can see I missed some greens, but that's not a big deal. I'm going to get to it. Just I want to work fast on background. I'm trying to take more solvent to make it easy going on the surface. Going from the other side. This is darker again, so I'm trying to use more darker mixture. And now I can see that I need to bring up the value of this rose a lot in comparison with the background. That's why background is so important, to block it in, so then you see which values of which roses and the ground itself, how does it work all together. So it kind of gives me an idea. And I can always bring up the value of background when I need to, but at this point I think it's good enough to see. I think it should be lighter a little here, a little bit more light, because my window is opposite, so it falls on the, actually a lot of light here. Then there is some coolness on the table, so I'm going to use some of the mixture already made and just add a little bit of ultramarine and brown, but add it to the tabletop where it's in the shade. Not too much, because my other side of the table is actually very light here. I'm not sure if I'm going to put some petals later, or I have also a rose there. I may add some. So you can see some blues of my brush popping out, and that's fine because it's kind of grayish tabletop, so hopefully the shaking will stop once I feel in blocking the canvas with the so I just need to fill with light one more spot here. That's where the tabletop gets the light from the glass. And here it's kind of, I'm trying to make it not very hard edges, soft, and I'll work on it later as well. So I think at this point I can change my bristle brush to a softer brush and start working on the roses and leaves again, but just with a softer brush. When the paint will start laying down much better, I will stop scrambling it and start actually painting with more attention to shapes and contours and colors and values, but I'll try not to overpaint too much. So I'm putting my brush, so that was a bristle brush. You can see it's kind of rubbed on one end. I wanted to try to rub it on the other end, but for some reason it doesn't work, so I have lots of brushes like this, because of the way you go, like this. So I'm taking a softer brush. This softer brush, I think I showed it already, it's called Sable Tack, so it's imitation of the sable bristles. It's very soft, but it has enough tension, and even when it's already quite worn and used, still, even though it has sticking in the end, like this one is new, but I have different one that has sticking, still keeps shape when you need to if you load enough paint. So I'm starting on my main roses because I think that's the most important part. So I may try to use more saturated colors, saturation. So I'm going these ones. Don't want to lose this richness and depth that I created. So I'm working with Terra Rosa and cadmium yellow deep. I added a little bit of cadmium red light just to try this pink area, see if it works. Again, try not to put every petal, but just shapes of color. Easier said than done. I'm just trying to make a little lighter area where needed, without losing the shape, because it's very easy to do. So there's a little bit of green and coolness on this side, so that will help. And very, very carefully, not working too much, because I don't want to make it too cool. I don't want to make it too light either. It's kind of middle ground. So that will work for now. And there is cast shadow here on this other rose from the other rose, from the first rose I was painting. So kind of, there is petal here. It's cast shadow, shouldn't. So once you put white, it's a difficult. Actually, with this particular one, I can wipe it off. That's a good thing with this canvas as well. It's a little bit more yellowish. And then I will add a lighter value for this rose too. So. The majority of this rose is actually in the shade, but there are some good pink shadows here. I'll try to get those in. Maybe I'll add even a little bit of alizarin to Terra Rosa and see how it works together. There are some petals there, but they're not very pronounced. And there is more purple here. Actually, I decided to do much darker than I should, but I think it works for now anyway, because I'll be comparing it again. Of course, I will be painting a higher value, high key as well. Just I need to make sure that I don't paint too light, and then I don't have any more scale for light. So there are some petals that I noticed catching the light. Have to be very careful with those, very, very careful, because sometimes adding those petals can sacrifice your shape, and it does not have any petals and keep the shape of the rose. I mean, not have too many of the petals that I don't need, that's what I mean. So this cools a little. And then I think this purple one I put where I put dark, I can add a little bit of lighter purple as well, just to see that there are petals there. Okay, so that should be enough for now with those roses. So not to overwork them. Plus, it's already half an hour. I think I might stop it. So this rose has more kind of fluffy type of petals that come into the light, and then it has grayish, brownish. Trying still to work in a very reserved manner in terms of lights. They can come later. So now, right now, for this one, I see lots of yellows. So I'm mixing cadmium yellow light, cadmium yellow deep, and white. I see that nice light green here. Have to be careful not to overdo it. And to show that fluffiness of this rose, so it will give variation in comparison with the other roses. But again, don't want to lose the shape of it, because the shadows still coming here. Okay, leave that rose for now too. And like I said, I will be going back to them. So like I see a little, whenever I see something that I really want to paint, I do it straight away, but in most cases, like these ones, has lots of background transparency in it, so I'll do it if I see it, if it bothers me too much. If it doesn't bother me too much, I'll leave it. Like I like these petals because they're forming the inner bud, so I may do some of those. Just suggestion. And I see lots of actually brown in the middle of these, so that's why I want to do it now, because sometimes I miss and forget. I'd rather do it now. Maybe it's too much actually. Yeah. So I'm cleaning my brush and keep working with the same brush, but I have to clean it regularly, so I don't have to make too much dirt, I would say. And at this point I see these lights on the background rose, so I think it's a good time to do it as well, because I'm not going to spend too much time on background roses, but while I see light, it's good to do it. So I'm going to do some background color around it right now. So it will be easier for me to do the petals. They have pink in them as well, especially like here. And I'll try to use this color I was talking about, green gold. It's actually a very nice color for background for roses. You see how it brings warmth, but not too much of it, or put the wrong color. Has to be more muted pink. Yeah. And again, I'll be doing leaves as well, so maybe I'll do some leaves now in the background. So this, because this leaf overlaps on that rose, and I don't have to do it again. There's another leaf going here, and one leaf here. So I'm using kind of side of my brush, because rose petals, rose leaves go like this, and then side leaves go like this. So there is some greenery here, but I'm not going into details of that for now. For now I'm going back to this small bud, or half opened bud, and I'm going to put just the main accent in it, the one that I can see better. Because I'm going to make sure I don't lose shadow of this one as well. And I'm correcting shape of this rose as I go. It's kind of turned too round for me. And also I have this little bud down here, so I'll do both of these at the same time. And it's okay if I caught some background, because it interacts with background. So there is some green in between them though. There's some leaf at the back, and also there are some leaves going back on the petals, same as here. I don't want to do too much on those, because I know how, like here there are some leaves that lighter, same thing. So maybe I'll do this as a part 1, and I'll take break, but I'm not sure 100% yet. I'm not sure how difficult to watch someone painting for a long time. So now I'm going into this rose, because I just saw like sun came out of the window and gave me some really nice colors, so I thought I would add those. And here as well, a little bit lighter. I think it looks nice. So on this one, it's also another fluffy rose. So I'm going to keep this shade here as it was, because I started losing it, and add more depth here, I think, potentially. Actually add some green and blue, because I see transparency of these petals, and they're quite dark in comparison with the lights, of course. Then I'll do lights. So I'll do like some major petals, the one that are really popping. Some petals here. Some yellow kind of. And this terra rosa, of course, adds a lot of depth. The light is passing through some petals, but because it's not the main rose, I'm trying not to overwork it. Just realized my microphone was too low. Hopefully you heard me all this time. There's always something with this technical. There's always all kinds of surprises for some reason. That's what it means when you're not technically advanced, or like if you don't get on with technical devices like I do. I don't, but it's part of life for most of people, and it helps a lot. So I could never share my paintings. Probably in the past I would sit at home and no one would know I can even paint, but this at least gives some kind of interaction with people, sharing. I think it's good. It's good when people can share their paintings and their process. So right now I'm trying to put more light on this one. It didn't work. The good thing with soft brushes, they really can lay paint on quite nicely. So then this one I have to kind of be careful how I turn my brush. The good thing with brushes on the and hairs on the brush, sometimes you just do something that you let do the hairs of the brush, not yourself, and that works quite well. And then you don't have to worry yourself what to do. Just let the brush paint. So that leaf a little bit smaller, so I kind of move it. So I think this rose, now I see the shape of it. I may start working in small brush with it later, but I just can see how the shape of it is a little bit, needs some correction. And also I'm going to do some kind of indications of petals here, but not too much. And I see that I lost actually the depth of this rose, so I need to make it a little darker. Even though it may not look the same there, but if I don't do it, it will not read properly. So going back into my pile of green and brown, viridian and transparent oxide red. So I think this rose has a little bit more form to it, so I'm going to kind of indicate petals here. So many different roses, so many different shapes. Some are just a great time to pick roses and paint them. I grow lots of different roses, so for me summer is short and hectic because I have to paint everything I grow. Sometimes I don't have time to paint everything, but if there is choice, like today was choice, should I paint roses or should I paint phlox? And there was kind of heavy rain approaching, so I thought the roses will be killed faster by the rain, so I went for the roses. Even though I have loads of them still going. They're actually going on the second bloom. That's what they do in the end of the season normally. So, and in winter it's going to be more fruit and wine potentially. Okay, so I'm doing yellow and more warmth here on the edge of this one. And again, I still have lots and lots of say, I don't know how to say, the range. My range of going into the light is still quite big, and that's a good thing, because then I can always bring up the values of the roses that I still painted very dark. But because I know that I can always paint them light, that kind of gives me good feeling. So I think I kind of made it worse than it was. So I'll go back. So the main thing, not to forget squinting. Sometimes I forget squinting, especially for values, so this way I'm going to kind of squint and see where my dots that I missed. You can see it brings depth straight away to the rose. And the same thing here, like this rose that I just painted. I kind of want to go back and do a little bit of squinting and get the shape back on track. And add a little bit of warm. All my mixtures actually already gone that I made, so I just keep adding in those mixtures a little bit of, oh, that was too dark. That's not there, and I have to correct my shape just a little. So I'll take maybe some background color like I did originally, but just a little bit lighter. Some white, yellow ochre and some background color of the gray mix. And I want to go through the rose. Just kind of tilt a different way a little bit. Now I need to go back and do the shape of it, the shape of the shadow. So I think more here. Add a little bit of green to that, viridian and brown. And then after that I can go back with white and do a little bit of light petals where needed. So when I use white, I use not pure white, of course. I use white and I add a little bit either cadmium yellow deep, like in this case, or I add a little bit of cadmium yellow light. So I need to clean my hand. So for cleaning hands, I have very handy things. Sometimes I can show you. It's baby wipes. So baby wipes are perfect for cleaning even like this very dirty paint. So you can see sometimes I like to take them for plain